What kind of hero kills monsters by choice, but still hates himself for it? That's the curse of Trevor Belmont. Born into a family that hunts nightmares, banished by the very people they protected, and thrown into a war against the most powerful vampire the world has ever known. He didn't want to be a hero. He didn't even want to care. But when the night came for humanity, Trevor Belmont picked up his whip and answered. A storm rolled over the hills of Wallachia, thick clouds swallowing the moonlight as shadows stretched over the land. The night air reeked of blood and smoke. Villages lay in ruin, families shattered, their homes torn apart by beasts of the night. Vampires ruled from the shadows, and no one dared fight back. No one except him. Trevor Belmont, a name that once commanded respect. Now it echoed in taverns and alleyways like a warning. Don't get involved with a Belmont, they whispered. They bring death with them. But long before the world feared him, Trevor was just the last heir of a disgraced family. The Belmont name had been banished from Wallachia by the church, accused of practicing dark arts because of their centuries-old tradition, hunting monsters. They had fought the darkness long before anyone else dared to name it. Vampires, demons, cursed beasts, anything that preyed on humanity, the Belmonts faced it head-on with whip and steel. But now they were forgotten, hated, driven into exile. Trevor grew up alone, surviving in the wild with nothing but his family's library, weapons, and the ghosts of his ancestors for company. He drank to forget, fought to survive, slept wherever the cold didn't bite too deep. He wasn't looking to save the world. He was just trying to make it through the next day. But fate has a way of finding the broken. When Dracula, the immortal vampire lord, declared war on humanity after the unjust execution of his beloved wife Lisa, the world changed overnight. His armies swarmed Wallachia. Towns burned. The sky turned red with rage. Monsters no longer hid in the dark. They ruled it. And amid the chaos, Trevor stumbled into the city of Grezet, a city under siege not just by creatures of the night, but by fear, superstition, and a church that had lost its soul. There, beneath the ground, Trevor discovered something that would change everything, or rather someone. Sypha Belnades, a speaker magician, a scholar of lost knowledge and master of elemental magic. Smart, brave, and fiercely loyal to her people. Unlike Trevor, Sypha believed in hope. She believed people could be saved. She believed the world was worth fighting for. And she saw something in Trevor that he had long buried purpose. Together, they uncovered an ancient legend buried in the catacombs, the sleeping warrior of the night, a weapon said to be strong enough to destroy Dracula. What they found instead was Alucard, half human, half vampire, the son of Dracula and Lisa, betrayed by his own father for siding with humanity. Alucard had sealed himself away, waiting for allies strong enough, brave enough, and reckless enough to help him stop the destruction of mankind. Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard, three broken souls bound by fate, formed an unlikely alliance. Fire, whip, and fang. Mages and monsters united against the apocalypse. Trevor's transformation didn't happen overnight. He was still brash, still bitter, still drunk half the time. But every town they saved, every demon they defeated, chipped away at the walls he'd built. He started to care, started to fight, not just because he had to, but because he wanted to. They journeyed through crumbling ruins, ancient libraries, frozen mountain passes, and cursed villages. They faced deathless generals, infernal beasts, and magic that bent reality. But the final battle loomed ahead, the dark heart of Dracula's castle. It wasn't just a fight. It was a war of legacies. Trevor wasn't just battling a monster. He was confronting centuries of hatred, abandonment, betrayal, and his own fear of becoming like the monsters he hunted. And Dracula? He was no ordinary villain. He was a grieving husband, who had lost the only person who ever brought light into his eternal darkness. Lisa had shown him humanity. The church took her away, and the world would pay the price. In the final battle, the trio stormed the castle. The air was thick with magic. The walls echoed with screams. Alucard faced his father. Sypha channeled the fury of flame and frost. Trevor swung his whip like lightning itself. The clash between Dracula and Alucard was nothing short of heartbreaking. It wasn't rage, it was sorrow. When Dracula finally saw his son's face and the room Lisa had prepared for him, reality shattered. He realized what he had become. A monster. The very thing Lisa had tried to save him from. And with a whisper of grief, he let go. Dracula was gone. But evil doesn't sleep. It mutates. It finds new faces. Even with Dracula defeated, the shadows didn't retreat. Vampire warlords rose to fill the void. The Forge Masters, those who could raise armies of the dead, plotted their own empires. New threats emerged. Blood still stained the soil of Wallachia. Trevor and Sypha didn't stop. They took the fight to every corner of the realm. They burned demonic forges, exposed corruption, and hunted every foul thing that dared to crawl out of the dark. Through it all, Trevor carried the weight of his family's legacy, not as a burden, but as a badge of honor. He was no longer the last Belmont. He was the first in a new chapter. The world didn't change overnight. Villages still burned. Monsters still rose. But hope had returned, and it wore a battered coat, carried a flask, and fought with a whip. Trevor Belmont didn't ask to be a legend. He didn't care about thrones or glory. He fought for the ones who couldn't, for the voices that were silenced, for the people who still believed that light could exist in a world ruled by shadows. He was messy. He was tired. He was angry. But he never gave up. And when the story of Wallachia is told, when the darkness that nearly consumed the world is remembered, they won't just speak of gods or vampires. They'll speak of Trevor Belmont, the man who brought the night to its knees. Watch the legendary tale of Alucard, his fearless allies, and his greatest enemy, Dracula, only on our channel.